Hey everyone. Welcome back to Strange Mind 6. I'm your host Ruby, and today we're going to be getting back into The Octunnumi by Trevor Allen Forrest. Before we do this, I would like to ask that you hit the like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And also, go ahead and grab your snacks, grab your drinks, or if you want, sit back, relax, and let's get to it, shall we? Hey guys! Interrupted by the door to 271 opening, the boys are greeted by the always and frankly quiet, irritatingly happy Vithjin Felsipet Prostitute. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Also, having recently returned to her 18-year-old self, petite, dark flowing hair, sparkling blue eyes, porcelain skin, a smattering of freckles, with the look of a delicate doll in the hipster jeans and crop top, steps out, hugs Reg, and is instantly dwarfed by him. But then, pretty much everyone has the same effect on Vithjin. Stepping back, she addresses Trad. And deep breath. Good to see you too, Trad. No, I haven't seen her. No, I don't know what she looks like, where she is, or when I am likely to. Is that all? Oh no, wait. You hate. She pauses. So is that me you hate? Or how can I do this? Vith is in Alatius, having the ability to hear, well, everything spoken, muttered, felt, or thought. Although all Terrellans share the same talents, at some points they will specialize in one area, and being able to tune into thought, sound, and feeling is Zithjin's. And while the Altasius can delve into thoughts, their oath will only permit them to read that which is openly available to the public domain. They themselves, of course, have the added advantage of not being able to read at all. The big disadvantage is that they are exhausting. I haven't said anything, Trad retorts. Vethjean smiles, and a little annoying. And we both know you don't have to, she grins. And no, this does not freak Reg out. Thank you for asking. And somewhat smug, she turns and wanders back into her apartment, calling out, and yes, I do know you do not hate me, but thank you for verifying. Reg grabs Trad's coat and drags him into the apartment after her. So I have nothing on Nate. She busies herself, plumping cushions and tidying an already tidy room. The decor having an air of free-thinking hippie, all drapes, sunken sofas, bright colors, and big art, is slightly at odds with its organized neatness. Having learned over the years not to sit unless expressly told where and usually how, the boys stand, slightly awkwardly, By the door, he goes off grid quite a lot, she continues, but I've had nothing from him today. Yes, I've messaged in. She looks up at Reg. No, I didn't file an official report, yet. Yes, I am sending it now. She stands straight, placing her hands on her hips. Yes, I can do that at the same time as talking to you. It's called multitasking. Pausing, she affectionately touches Reg's cheek. Thank you, I'm fine, and yes, I do know you are doing everything you can to find Pemity. She smiles warmly as she passes him. And no, I do not have an off button. She holds up her hand in Trad's direction. Oh my God, Trad, do both of us a favor and stop thinking. Just for one moment, think about something other than Taj. Dropping her hand, she continues her tidying. Yes, you are thinking about her. You are. You are. Yes. Reg, would you stop strangling me right here, right now? What? No, you did not say. She turns abruptly and glares at Trad, slamming down the pile of books she was in the process of moving. How dare you? I am nothing like Taj. She strides out of the room, slamming doors behind her. Epic, Trad. Just epic. Reg calls back as he hurries after Vithjin. What? I didn't say a word, he says defensively. And I'm not thinking about Taj, he shouts in the direction of his departing brother. Yes, you are, Vithjin's distant voice calls from the depths of the flat. Geez, how does she do that? Trad mutters as he flops back on a neatly presented sofa and immediately thinks better of it. I didn't mean to upset her, you know. From where the boys sit, they can see the entire space that makes up the one-room bedsit. Though poorly lit by the small lamp on the table, it is clear that this is not somewhere that anyone spends any amount of time. The sofa bed is pulled out and unmade, empty takeaway boxes sharing space with crumpled clothes on the floor. The kitchenette sink overflows with dishes, cookertop never used, but instead is home to a selection of empty oat milk cartons, and so quiet, a situation exacerbated by the fact that the boys have barely spoken since leaving Veth's. And yet you did, Reg replies, staring at the floor. She can be a little oversensitive, Mr. Regis. They are sisters, Trad continues, prone to taking things the wrong way and blowing things out of proportion. They should like each other, love each other. You can love people without liking them, Trad. Reg replies. You like me though, right? Trad asks, not missing the implication. It's a given. Choosing not to respond, Reg continues to stare at the floor. Mr. Regis? Reg? Okay, Trad. I get it. Taj is... well, Taj. But Veeth doesn't like the way she goes off and starts new lives without her any more than you do. I'm not bothered. Sure. Right. Reg laughs. Look, Reg. Trad retorts, No one asked no one asked me and Taj if we were okay with this inseparable bond thing. You don't get to choose, you know that? Yes, well, it's fine when it works. Trad shrugs. You and Veeth, for example. It's not like we live together or anything, Reg comments. No, but you connect each time. No hassles. No. Trad struggles to find the words and settles on drama. But you are. What? Trad cuts in. Destined to be part of each other's lives? All of them? He pauses. Taj doesn't see it that way. She likes the right to exercise her free will. Right. Well, I know, but Reach hesitates. You know how she is. She goes off, then she appears. Trad shakes his head. What, you haven't seen her yet? Not since our last regen, no. Okay, well, we've only just regenerated, so I guess it's early days. You'll find her. Pausing, he glances at Trad. You have to. Yeah, well, Trad says as he looks around. This time, she's on her own. So, you're definitely not looking? Yes. No. Trad stumbles. Whatever, he mutters. You'll find her. Not looking much. They fall back into an uneasy silence. After a while, Trad stands. Are we sure this is the place? So Veeth says. Trad nods as he surveys the small room, fairly normal for a young singleton. He opens the fridge. Wow. He pulls a face as the odor hits him. Quickly swinging the door shut, he says, Probably best not to open that again. Trad gives the room another once over. A perfectly normal room, if you discount the windows being completely blacked out, with thick foil insulation as the walls, ceilings, and floor. Does this work? Trad asks, indicating the coverings. Blocking out readers? Reg asks, Is Veeth in your head? Nope. Trad replies, tilting his head to one side just to check. So foil hats is a thing. Could be. Man, I gotta get me some of this. He flicks the insulation again. So why? Why what? Why has she got all of this? I mean, it's not your average choice of decor, Trad says as he walks the small place. Who does she think she is trying to get? Who does she think is trying to get in her brain? She's a writer, Red shrugs. You know how paranoid they are. Okay, Trad nods, but I'm not seeing any notes, no phones, no TV, no laptop, computer. Where is all this writing, the research? Perhaps she has good memory. And the door? Trad points to the multitude of latches and padlocks lining the inside. They are all locked. What the hell? Interrupted by the voice behind them, both boys turn. Grace. Reg smiles. Nice of you to join us. Is this the best you can do? Gracie, to her friends, leans against the far wall of the small, brightly lit room with its formica table, plastic chairs, plain walls, large mirrors to one side, and single hanging bulb, central to the room. Everything you would expect from a room designed to get right to the point. Everything you would expect from an interrogation room. She watches as Reg and Trad seat themselves, Reg taking the chair opposite, Trad dragging the other around, sitting on the table in front of her, both feet on the chair, his coat skimming the floor. He gestures for her to sit. No one makes a sound. While she considers her options, clearly not having any, she issues a deep, resigned sigh, steps to the chair indicated by Trad, and kicking the layers of her skirt away from her legs, sits, adjusts her jacket, tucks a strand of stray hair behind her ear, then crosses her legs, sending her skirt into a rustled frenzy. Not being funny or anything, but this is a bit obvious, she remarks, gesturing around. And you can't keep me here, she continues, looking up at Trad. I have rights. Even in your world, I have rights. And what do you know about our world, Grace? Trad leans forward slightly, resting his elbow on his knees and smiling. I know plenty, she snaps. Perhaps you would like to enlighten me, he grins. How's Nate? She asks, ignoring Trad. Don't you mean Dad? Reg interrupts her. How's your dad? Well, Grace begins. Why would you call him that, Grace? Trad cuts in. What on earth makes you think he is your father? Because. She looks at them both. He is. Then, looking to Reg, please tell me he's okay. He's fine, Reg replies. The drug you gave him was flushed from his system. Taking a deep breath, Grace replies, I can understand slowly, looking from one to another, how I appear to be the bad guy in this, but I know you don't believe that to be true. She continues, you have your readers in my head right now, don't you? So you know what's happening. She pauses. How far back you have gone. Exchanging looks with both boys, she asks, can you see my mother, Melissa? Can you see her when she left? Knowing she was pregnant with me? Knowing that the only way she would be able to keep me was to leave Nate, my father. She shoots Reg a glare. Can you see how that hurt her? Having to make that choice. Can you see her being turned down for regen status? Can you see her funeral? Grace, it's not possible for a regen and a next gen to have children. Yeah, well, newsflash. She leans back with her arms spread. It's possible. Both boys stare at her for a moment. So I take it you are a regen? Trad asks as he moves his chair and stands. Yeah, she laughs. Finding that out was a blast. You know, waking up on the mortuary slab, about to be cut open after being declared dead. So this was... Trad asks as he straddles the chair and leans on the backrest, facing her. Way back, she continues. My parents had been together for about 5 years when she left. Mom passed on when I was 17. Obviously, as a next gen, she stayed dead. She pauses. I still look for her, but she shrugs. So I live my life, long and healthy, of course. Illnesses are few and quick to clear up. Injuries self-heal. To be honest, my doctors thought I was a marvel of their time. Part of medical history, of course, money providing the best care, food, and living conditions help. but I knew it was more. Fortunately, I never married nor had children, but as my friends started to die around me, even my physicians became suspicious. I mean, I was aging, but I wasn't dying. She leans forward, and in anomaly in the medical society, my doctors became intrigued. I became a test subject, virtually held prisoner. She smiled. And then one of the tests failed, and I was declared dead. Right there on the table. Obviously, at the time, I was unaware that I could regenerate. She waits for a response from the boys, but when none comes, she carries on. Right, so I wake up in the morgue as me, Grace, but I'm 18 again. And I'm like, wow. So I'm shocked, right? Okay, not as much as the guy who was about to cut my organs out. A weary smile passes over her lips. I knew I couldn't go back to my old life, but my memory's still intact. I couldn't access it, so I became my own long-lost niece who looked a lot like my original self. That's how you do it, isn't it? When you lot live in, what do you call it? Fethris? Just change your first name and keep the surname? Become part of some imaginary extended family? I guess it's only in Fethris that you have to do that, right? No need to change names this side. Not waiting for an answer, she continues. Of course, I didn't realize that not changing my appearance would be so problematic. I never made that mistake again. I mean, I soon realized that you cannot make too many changes, but still, never come back looking exactly the same, right? Anyway, it didn't take me long to realize that all the stories my mother had told me about regeneration were true. Except, of course, she was talking about your world, Nate's world, not mine, not me. Who'd have thought I would carry the gene, huh? So it made sense that Nate, my father, was out there somewhere. I just had to find him. Really, as simple as that? Chad laughs. Well, no, actually, it wasn't that simple. She snips. My mother had changed her last name and only ever referred to Nate as Nicholas, being the name she knew him by. She pauses. Or your father. So I didn't have much to go on, not even a surname. Anyway, I figured he'd stay close to his roots. I knew he lived in the city, so I focused my search there. Once I'd figured that deaths where no bodies were recovered were the most likely indication of regens, I just focused on that, eventually narrowing it down to Nate. That was pretty lucky, Reach comments. There are plenty of examples of missing bodies. Why do you think it took me so long? At one point, I was tracking 3 possibilities. It wasn't until I had to see Nate leaving the cemetery where my mother was buried that it twigged. Unfortunately, the next time I saw him was in the papers announcing his disappearance and certain death by misadventure. It did, however, give me a name and a location, so it was only a matter of time before another long-lost relative popped up to claim his fortune. Luckily for me, he lacks imagination in the body renewal department, basically keeping the same physical characteristics and less so when it came to renaming, going from Nathaniel to Nicholas to Norman and so on, if it began with N, then chances were that it was him, and luckily for me, too, that N is pretty limiting. She smiles. He used Nathaniel a lot. Even so, he was pretty hard to keep track of. He's had a lot of regens. So, Trad asks, after all this effort you tried to kill him because... You think that's it? She laughs. What? Wanted revenge or something? Wow, you're way off. What was it then? Reg interjects. Some kind of message that you were onto us? If only it was that simple, she says quietly. As I have said, I didn't drug him, and I wasn't looking for you exactly. I did, however, need your attention. Well, one of your lot. She leans forward. You see, there may be lots of speculation out there about the existence of a secret utopia, a wonderland, hidden in plain sight, they say. But you've done a pretty good job of concealing the access points. Noting the involuntary surprise on both of their faces, she continues, Yeah, she smiles. I know about the access points. Tell me about the room. Rage asks, How did you find it? It found me, she says, shaking her head. So I'm running down an alleyway, she recalls, noting Reg's ruffled, raised eyebrow. It's not important why, but I was. So I'm running and suddenly I'm in this room. I actually have no idea where the door in the flat leads to, and I don't have the keys, for all those padlocks. I'm not sure I want to know what's on the other side, to be honest, considering how much effort someone has to put to keep it shut. I only get there through the alley. She smiles, so I figure it must have belonged to someone in the know. All that insulation and security, and well, sometimes I need somewhere to lie low, so I go there. You live with all that mess? Trad asks in dismay. I said I go there, not live there, she responds. It has, how shall I say it, its uses. Hence the running. Sorry, what? Grace directs her attention to Reg. You needed somewhere to hide from the people you were running from, he finishes. Something like that, she nods. The point is, you would be surprised just how much information is out there. Admittedly, most are just conspiracy theories, but still, some of the stuff gets close to the truth. Just look at the comics. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Really? Trad pushes the chair as he stands up. Am I the only one who's in the dark on this? Is there no one in Fethris who can keep a secret? Trad throws a what the hell look at Reg, who smiles sheepishly. What, you don't know about the comics? Grace smirks. I know you do. She looks over at Reg. I've seen you at the conventions. Didn't know you were the real deal, though. Fabulous. Conventions! Conventions! Trad exclaims. And he says, correcting Grace, they are not comics. They are graphic novels. So I'm guessing, she grins, that the collector dolls will be a surprise as well. I give up. Dolls? Trad cries. Limited edition works of art, actually. Well, they are more models, really, she adds. Very sought after. What? Reg! Dismayed, he turns to his brother. I'll tell you later, Reg replies, focusing back on Grace. Later. Haven't you got enough to tell me later? So add it to the list, Reg says. The list? The list, Trad states. That would be the list of your complete betrayal, deception, and subterfuge with it. He pauses, adding, sure, why not? Overreacting much? If it's any consolation, Grace chips in, smiling broadly, you are much better looking in flesh. It would be a consolation if you shut up. Well, that's something, Trad acknowledges. She's not talking to you. I was speaking to him. She nods towards Reg. What? Trad protests. We are exactly the same. Yeah, she says, considering them both, and yet no. That much we agree on. Trad stammers. Look. Grace stands, smoothing her skirt, and continues. Much as it's great to actually meet the real deal, there isn't time for one of your double acts. What does she mean, Reg? Double act? I'm sure I don't know, Trad. Okay, stop. Grace holds her hand, considering the pair for a moment. Sighing deeply, she continues. You two have no idea, do you, what living in the real world is like? Judging by the expressions on the boys' faces, they disagreed. What? She laughs. You think your world is real life? A world where you self-heal, communicate through thought, move things with your mind, play out memories like your own personal movie, a place where you live forever? We don't live forever, they both reply. Your conscience does, she says. Do you know how liberating that is? No learning, no studying, just pick up from where you left off, and you get to choose your new look, your new life. You get to choose everything. Becoming more animated, she circles the room. The world, your world, is just one big game. There are no risks, no unknowns. In my world, it's different. When you die, that's it. Kaboosh, fiend, over, the end. Aren't you forgetting reincarnation? Reg puts forward. Oh yeah, 'cause that's such an exact science. Sarcasm drips from her words. Your essence, spirit, whatever you want to call it, may or may not be born again as a new soul. Oh, but there's a catch. You don't know where, when, how, who, and then you have no tangible memories of the former life. Some do, and spend all their days trying to reconnect, she states. Some life. What's the point if you cannot benefit from what went before? I believe that's why books came out, Trad snipes. Yeah, well, she replies, it's not the same as an actual experience for yourself. You still haven't explained how you managed to find us, Reg breaks in. Nate and the Ecos Realis found you, she replies, wearily slumping back into her chair. You know what it is? Trad asks, shooting Reg a sideways glance. I heard the stories of how the spheres would lead your kind to safety in times of need. So when the thing started going nuts in my pocket, she pauses. In all the time I had it, it didn't do a thing for me. But as soon as Nate turned up in the cafe, well, I figured something was really wrong. I just got him here. And how exactly, Trad asks, did you get a hold of it? Found at one of his accident sites, she says. He was attempting some ridiculous thing. I forgot what. There's been so many. Needless to say, he failed. And so you went trophy hunting. I waited to see if they recovered a body, she shoots back. When they didn't, I knew it was him. That's when I found the Ecos Reales. Unfortunately, it didn't mean I had to start again. It did mean I had to start again. You know, be at the memorial service, friend of the family, start a friendship, pretend I didn't know he was the same person, but here I am. So you thought a good way to introduce yourself to us as the daughter of Nate, as the daughter Nate didn't know he had, Trad comments, was to try and kill him? Two things, she says, shooting him an icy stare. Number one, I did not find my father to find you. And two, she hesitates. And two, he doesn't know I'm his daughter. Well, the last time we saw him, he didn't know much about anything. And that's why I needed him to be here, she states. Look, when I first managed to track him down, he was active into all sorts of things, stupid things, base jumping, really stupid. Thank you, Trad says, as he casts a smug grin at Reg. Well, she continues, all right, I thought, if you know that you're not ultimately going to end it all, take risks, enjoy. So, I joined in. We did all sorts, and I got it. I got how much fun it is. Please spare us the daughter-father bonding montage. Trad interrupts, more than a little put out. Like I said, he doesn't know. But the thing is, we were friends. Through all of the regens, even when I regened and re-entered his life, we were friends. Obviously, nothing more. It's built in, isn't it? The anti-incest bit? You mean the Evangeline? Reg asks. The lack of attraction to a member of your own regen gene pool. Grace nods as Reg continues. Yes, it's part of our DNA. Stops complication developing when your parents regen younger than you and the like. Not to mention your grandparents. Trad shudders at some distant memories. It also activates the protective instincts. Reg adds, yeah, that. She nods. Well, that was well and truly activated after my first fall. The daddy gene kicked in then. No more dangerous stuff for me. No risk taking. No nothing. She smiles. It was kinda nice in a way. Well, at first. Then it became really, really annoying. But we were friends, We had a bond. She shoots Trad a sly glance. Okay, I knew it was a father-daughter thing, but he didn't. We just got on, Neither boy responds. So, I've been noticing just lately he's been a bit distant. Nothing specific, but... And then... I'm meeting him, right? She continues. Except, now there's a big change. He doesn't know me. He knows my name and about me, but he's off. Like, we were not friends. And then I know they have got to him, and that I have to get him to you. They, Reg asks. The ones who've taken the others. She pauses. Realizing they had no idea what she was talking about, she continues. Okay, so this is how it happens. First, they, friends of mine, people I know well, don't connect with loved ones. Then they're friends until eventually they cut themselves off from everyone, everything, the outside world. And then they are gone, apparently up and left, with no money, no stuff, no trace, which either goes unnoticed or is no surprise given their recent behavior and not of any interest to the local authorities, Reg comments. Exactly, she agrees. But who are these people that are taken? Trad asks. What's so special about them? You don't get it, do you? She asks. You think I'm the only one like me? You think other next gens and regens have not got it together? Wake up, guys. For an organization that knows so much, you don't know so much. No, you're wrong, Reg insists. No, if the two life forces choose a life together and a child results, our people would know. Oh, but they do. She pauses. Well, someone here does. Rubbish, Reg mutters. She watches for a moment, considering her words before saying, You recruit from Fethris, right? You recruit people displaying skill sets similar to your own, and then you invite them to sign up, yeah? And you know this how? Trad asks. It doesn't matter how I know, I just do, she replies. Where do you think these people come from? Do you think it's natural evolution? Well, or perhaps a whole shed load of crossbreeding? She pauses. And if that got out, who do you think it would affect if suddenly certain sectors of the Earth race had magic powers? It's not magic, they both reply. Oh, but in this world, in my world, trust me, she says, all the hocus pocus stuff you can do, that's not normal. Out there, it's magic, and your lot wants to contain it. So that's why there's the recruitment, to keep them close. She takes a breath. If they belong, then they will not cause a problem. So let's say we believe your theory. Is it so bad that we look out for our own and offer them a safe haven? You said it yourself, that you became a test subject, and history has plenty of examples of how Fethris people react to anything different to them. Why not keep it a secret? The problem with a secret, she replies, is that it rarely stays that way, and then you have all these speculations and intrigue thrown in, and that's when people start digging, asking questions, and let's face it, even if half of the stories are completely wrong, your world is still pretty amazing. Like I said, by comparison to your world, she gestures around the room, out here, it is pretty dire. Still not getting why you needed to find us, Trad comments. It's your job to ensure the safety and secrecy of all other Inisomids from Fethris, right? Inisomids? Trad asks innocently. Please, don't treat me like I'm stupid, she flashes. Your point? Reg cuts in. Inisomids, she continues, that are accessible at certain points across the country, the globe, controlled by your organization. We don't control anything, Trad corrects. We monitor and maintain the status quo. Whatever you want to call it, and I am telling you, she says, leaning across the table, that there is an underbelly of life out there in Fethris, my Insomid, that you know nothing about, and they know a great deal about you. And this concerns us because someone has upped the ante, she answers. New faces with extreme skills and even more stories. More details of this promised land are popping up and are getting noticed, but not in a good way. Things are about to escalate, my friends, and we need your help. We? Reg questions. Okay, look. Grace takes a breath, studying her hands as she spreads them on the table. I haven't been completely honest with you. Go figure, Trad snorts. I am a member of the Continuum Society. Well, that explains the outfit. Trad nods. What? Reg asks. Her clothes. Trad replies. It was bugging me why they were so similar. Apart from the obvious similarity, he gestures his hand to his and Reg's uniform. But now I've got it. The continuum feature in the graphic novel that I had, Trad continues, that you still need to return, by the way. Well, the Continuum Society is mentioned in that. I didn't get far enough to find out what it is, but it's in there. They dress like this, he says, gesturing Grace, and also explains why Mikey thought we were in fancy dress. So? Grace asks, looking over the boys' outfits. You dress like this all the time. Yes, of course, Reg replies. And you? Pretty much. Cool. Trad smiles. So, does the stuff work? What? This stuff? Grace taps the burnished metal where strapped to her arm. Nah, wait. She stops. You mean yours does? I wish, Trad laughs. At least then there'd be a reason to wear it. No, it used to when... Excuse me, Reg cuts in. Sorry to interrupt your fashion swap, but haven't we all got more important things to discuss? Huh? Trad smiles and winks at Grace. Of course, sure, yes. Yes, sorry, she replies, blushing slightly before continuing. Well, I appreciate that you, she glances at Trad, don't know what the Continuum Society is, but you do, don't you? She looks at Reg. And so does Trad. Reg takes a moment to go through his options. You don't have any. It's a fictional organization, he replies flatly in Fethris, based on a fictional group of beings. Its members are from an elite group that have exceptional skills in a cross-section of areas. Their purpose is to bring stability to the unstable, help to the helpless, protect the vulnerable, save the planet. He pauses, and is, as I said, fictional, from a fictional source about a fictional entity. But it is. Is it really? Grace leans over on the table. After all, isn't it the same as the Octunnumi? The Octunnumi Foundation and its associated charities are real, as are the organizations it supports, Reg replies. Any similarities are coincidental. Grace holds Reg's stare for a moment, then relaxes, shrugs, leans back, and continues. All I know is that they reckon the stories in those graphic novels, are more fact than fiction, and so the Continuum Society was formed. She glares back at Reg. For real. And it's cute, you know? Fun, friendly, brings people of like minds together. Dress up, she indicates her outfit. Support projects, promote the Continuum ethos, have rallies, and whilst I have to admit I have been on the odd protest, nothing heavy has ever happened, nothing unpleasant. But now, things are turning dark. These new people, I don't know, she shrugs, rubbing her brow, suddenly very tired. All I can say is that whatever they are trying to do, I think it's started. More new faces are signing up, and more of the old ones are disappearing. She looks to Reg. You know. the continuum exists. You know the work it does, and I know your people, magic or not, are the only ones who can help. I'm aware of his existence, Reg nods, choosing his words carefully, just as you are aware that our organization, the Octunnumi, is concerned with charitable projects, environmental issues, animal welfare, and humanitarian aid. He pauses, and nothing else. We, he gestures, do not exist in Fethris, nor does the knowledge of other insomnids. Any reference to or implication otherwise is again fiction and not fact. Yet, this underworld, she says, its main focus is uncovering the insomnids, proving that they exist, that other beings exist, that they are immortals. We are not, that immortal life is possible, she interrupts, raising her hand. And what's more, it's widely believed that immortality can be passed on to others, and guess what? That has attracted a lot of people's interest. She pauses. Look, I know why the Insimids were created. I don't disagree with that, but not everyone feels the same. Pausing for a moment, she considers her next words. There is a reason why I need your attention, she states. You have to help. If no other reason than to protect your own little setup. As I said, Ridge begins. And, she interrupts, there's something else you need to know. And that, my dear friends, is where we are going to stop. Tune in next time for what she's going to tell them. I wonder if it's going to be about their charges and what happened. But we shall see. So, tune in next time. And this is Ruby, signing off, my dear friends.